On a night filled with mystery, Akira finds herself surrounded by wizards and powerful foes, discovering her destiny is tied to saving their world from a devastating catastrophe. From soaring through the skies to battling with magic, her journey begins, a journey that will change her life forever. Our episode today begins with a girl named Akira who had brought food for the cats. She loves them a lot. But as she looked up at the moon, she noticed it was shining so brightly, and something felt off about that night. The cat was restless, the winds were fierce, and it felt like something big was about to happen. Akira quickly snapped a photo of the moon and left. She went back to her grandmother's house, only to find something really strange. Something had been redesigned or changed, but she couldn't figure out how. Looking around nervously, she asked herself, how did this happen? That's when, out of nowhere, a figure appeared wearing just a visible hat. It was the only thing she could see. A voice spoke to her saying, I'll guide you to where this elevator is heading. He then introduced himself as Moore, a wizard from the Western lands. After that, he revealed his true form and explained why he was there. There's a lot of trouble brewing, Akira, but it's no ordinary trouble, he said. We're here to save the world, and I want you to join us to help. Akira was stunned. She thought to herself, what is this? Am I dreaming? But deep down, something told her this wasn't a dream. Moore continued, I've been waiting for you for a long time, wise one. So please don't hold back. We need your full strength to save this world. And just like that, he disappeared. Soon after, Akira arrived at her destination. She was greeted by a group of people speaking in a strange way, calling her the wise one. They said the wizards had summoned her to save the world. Everyone bowed to her, but Akira raised her hands and said, wait, what are you talking about? Is this some kind of prank or hidden camera show? But the group's spokesperson, a man named Drummond, introduced himself as the Minister of Magic for the Central Kingdom. The man standing next to him was Cook, the Secretary of the Kingdom. They explained they had been waiting for her to fight against the great calamity and save their world. Hold on, Akira interrupted. Save the world from what? Is this some kind of game or new VR experience? I don't understand anything you're saying. Drummond tried to reassure her, telling her not to worry because she wouldn't be in any danger, but Akira wasn't having it. Sorry, I can't come with you, she said firmly. Drummond grew angry and said, we'll take you by force if we have to. At that moment, two other figures appeared, seemingly wizards as well. One of them, a red-haired man named Kane, introduced himself as her personal knight. He promised to protect her at all costs, revealing that he was also the leader of the knights. Drummond was furious when Kane raised his sword at them. How dare you, Kane, point your sword at me? You're one of us. This is treason, and you should be punished. Kane smirked and replied, I'm not fond of threats, Drummond, but my duty is to protect the wise one chosen by destiny, and that's exactly what I'll do. The tension escalated, and a fierce fight broke out between them. During the chaos, Heathcliff managed to take Akira and escape with her, but as they descended, Heathcliff seemed to be losing consciousness. Akira checked on him, worried, but he assured her he was fine, though his magical energy was nearly drained. Just then, they were surrounded by soldiers, but Heathcliff used a powerful spell, allowing them to escape. Heathcliff cast a spell on the guards, freezing them in place. Then he turned to Akira and urged her to hurry to Master Faust, as the spell wouldn't last long. For the first time, Akira started to realize that everything happening around her was real, not some elaborate act. Meanwhile, Shylock was making his way to the building where Kane and Heathcliff were deeply worried about them. Shortly after, the guards began to break free from the spell. They decided to capture Akira, but just as they closed in, Shylock arrived. Shylock spoke to Heathcliff, you've pushed yourself too hard, you and Kane both. Flying here alone must have drained you completely. Then he turned to Akira, greeting her warmly and introducing himself as a wizard from the Western lands. Suddenly, a strange scent filled the air, causing the guards to collapse unconscious. It became clear that this was the effect of Shylock's magic. At that moment, Kane arrived, overjoyed to see Shylock. He had come to help them escape. Akira, still confused, asked, who are you people? And what is this place? Kane, realizing she was from another world, explained they didn't have much time but needed to fill her in quickly. Shylock, however, interjected, saying, dragging someone who doesn't understand what's happening goes against a knight's values. Kane decided to give Akira a brief explanation. He told her, we need your strength. We suffered a crushing defeat in a battle we used to win with ease every year. I'm certain we didn't underestimate the enemy or act recklessly, but we still lost and half of our comrades were killed. The elders are furious and believe we were careless, but that's not true. We can't afford to lose anyone else. Kane continued, I know you're from another world and you have every right to refuse. No one would blame you. But if you choose to help us, I'll do anything in my power to repay you. Though this isn't a material promise, I beg you with all my heart." Akira stood silent for a moment, not fully understanding Sane's words, but deeply moved by the sincerity in his voice and the look in his eyes. She still didn't know if this was a dream or some wild fantasy, but she couldn't ignore his plea. "How can I help you?" "Exactly?" she finally asked. Heathcliff replied, "We need you to save Master Faust. He's one of our closest allies and has been gravely injured. Without him, I wouldn't even be alive today." Akira nodded, deciding she would do everything she could to help. The group was overjoyed to hear her decision. However, before they could act, Drummond appeared, furious. "You're not taking Akira anywhere. I won't allow you to deceive her. Wizards are liars and selfish manipulators. They bend others to their will without hesitation, using their strange powers to control emotions." Shylock smirked and countered, "And if we're telling the truth, doesn't that make you the liar? If we're being truthful, that would make you the liar, selfish and manipulative, just like us. It feels like you're starting a conversation, but you have no intention of actually talking to us. All we've gathered from your words is that you hold no affection for us. Even if we told you the truth, you wouldn't believe us. You'd only be satisfied if we lied because you want to believe that the people you despise are liars." Drummond turned to Akira and said, "The most important thing is that you shouldn't listen to them. You need to listen to me. I'm saying this for your own good." Akira thought to herself, "He says it's for my own good, but this man insists that I only listen to him." Kane added, "This isn't about what's best for you, it's about what's best for them." Even with that in mind, he's still asking for your help. Finally, Akira spoke up. "I don't really understand what's happening, but I'll go with them." The group erupted in joy as Akira chose to side with them. Kane commented, "A human we just met trusts us, the wizards." Drummond, however, was furious. "Wizards are evil, arrogant, and selfish." Heathcliff, clearly angered, threatened Drummond, "Say another word, and you'll regret it. The so-called evil, arrogant wizards are the ones who fought to protect the world, friends like ours and Master Faust, who fell defending people like you." Drummond snapped, "I won't let you leave with her, even if I have to stop you by force." Shylock smirked and said, "I believe all your guards are currently enjoying some very sweet dreams." Drummond laughed, "You fools, we have more guards ready outside. You're all exhausted, which means you won't stand a chance against them. And just so you know, we've armed them with anti-magic weapons." Suddenly, their friend Moore appeared, using his magic to turn Drummond into a small mouse. As the group stared in shock, Moore casually remarked, "I was just out saying goodbye to the moon." Kane sighed, "You're as crazy as ever." Akira, completely stunned, asked, "What just happened?" "He was this wise old minister a moment ago, and now he's this." Robin chimed in, "What's going to happen to the minister?" Moore replied, "He'll return to normal in 12 hours. Moore then introduced himself to Akira, taking her hand and flying with her into the sky. Kane shouted after them, "That's reckless. What if something happens to her?" Moore pulled Akira closer as they soared higher. Akira couldn't hide her excitement. "My heart's racing from fear and exhilaration. I've heard of people flying on brooms, they're wizards." As they flew through the air, Akira reached out to touch the surreal sights around her. Waves of 7-colored flower petals shimmering like rainbows, she said in awe, touching one and marveling at its beauty. It was as though they were dancing, embraced by the galaxy and bathed in endless light, their laughter echoing through the air. Moore smiled at Akira and said, "Isn't it amazing that we get to experience this together? Life is a journey filled with incredible things you might never see again." Akira thought back to her grandmother's words, "Something strange will happen on a night with fierce winds and restless cats." And with that, today's episode comes to an end. Stay tuned for the next episode. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with all our latest content. The episode begins in the castle where Oz is seen waiting for his friends. Snow and White approach him, asking if there's any news about Faust and if they can save him. They say that if they can't save him, no one else will be able to. Oz responds by saying that Faust's magical powers are gone, and they are currently easing his pain with herbal remedies. He adds that if they wish to bid him farewell, they should do so now. However, if the healer arrives in time, there might still be a chance to save him. At that moment, Mithra and his friends arrive, clearly preparing to leave. Oz asks Mithra where they are going. Mithra responds that he has fulfilled his duty, and now he is free to go wherever he wishes. This angers everyone as Faust is on the brink of death. Owen remarks that the world was nearly destroyed, meaning everyone is grieving from fear and loss. He insists Mithra should see this for himself, confident it would be quite enjoyable for him. Owen leaves, and the twins call Mithra and Mithra rude, but admit he's strangely likable. Mithra then addresses Oz directly, mocking him for calling himself the greatest wizard in the world, yet being utterly useless against the great calamity. Mithra declares that one day he will defeat Oz and claim the title of the greatest wizard for himself. Oz retorts that if Mithra weren't one of the chosen, he would kill him on the spot. He then orders Mithra to get out of his sight, confident that they will cross paths again soon. Mithra leaves. Afterward, Bradley and the twins go to check on Faust. Bradley speaks to Faust, urging him not to sacrifice himself in his final moments. The twins tell Faust to let them know if he needs anything and not to act humble. Faust replies that he is certain the shallow humans he despises will bring about their own destruction, which they deserve because they caused this themselves. He remarks that the seemingly endless days are finally ending. Suddenly, Faust begins to feel as though he is dying. At that moment, Cain arrives with the healer Akira. They rush to save Faust. Chiluk mentions that they lost 10 wizards in the battle against the Great Calamity, and that it would be unsettling if the number rose to 11 after having an even count. He is informed that the healer has arrived and will save Faust quickly. Faust tells them that if he suffers any harm, not to blame themselves. Suddenly, his breathing stops. Akira rushes to save him, and Oz asks her to lend him her hand so he can borrow her power. Akira holds Oz's hand, and together they release an enormous surge of energy that saves Faust. Faust can't believe he's alive again. Everyone is overjoyed that he didn't die and thanks Akira profusely for what she did. She believed in them rather than trusting the central town minister. After completing his task, Oz prepares to leave, but Cain stops him, reminding him they have yet to discuss their strategy for next year's battle against the Great Calamity. No one expected this world to suffer so many casualties, and Cain wants to prepare for the next attack to prevent such a tragedy from happening again. He insists they need Oz. Oz declines, to which Cain argues that they are both wizards from the central town, and even if Oz dislikes working with others, they need to understand each other's strengths to avoid defeat against the same enemy. Oz dismisses Cain's argument, saying young wizards love unity, but it's pointless. Only those destined to survive will survive, and that's all there is to it. If they don't want to be wiped out, they must become strong enough to ensure their own survival. Cain disagrees, arguing that by working together, they could save many of their comrades. Oz remains unconvinced, insisting nothing can change fate, and leaves. The twins remark that Oz is stubborn in his views, but they believe he's the best person to lead them in the battle. Cain disagrees, saying Oz is far stronger than him and would be the ideal leader to unite them. Bradley counters, saying anyone who opposes Oz will be crushed in the blink of an eye. Cain agrees, noting that this is precisely why everyone from prisoners to people like Owen and Mithra will obey Oz. After all, Oz and his kind are terrifying beings. At that moment, Akira slaps herself with a pen, thinking all of this is just a dream. The twins, noticing her confusion, decide to take her somewhere interesting. They lead her to an enormous library and hand her the sage's volume, a book written by the previous sage. The text is in a language they cannot read. However, when Akira opens the book, she realizes she can understand it. She tells the twins that she can read its contents. Afterward, Akira asks them if she can return home, feeling as though she is being tested. She begins to show signs of anxiety, prompting the twins to reassure her. To ease her fears, they transform into their adult forms. Akira is shocked by their sudden change, as they were previously children. They explain that changing their appearance is very easy for them. Akira feels like she's being tricked, but the twins clarify that their childlike appearances are their default forms. They explain that wizards live for a long time and their bodies stop aging after their magical powers mature. Transforming into adults occasionally is a fun and refreshing change for them. The twins sit beside Akira, sensing her longing to return home. Unfortunately, they admit they have no idea how to send her back to her world. However, they also assure her that they won't leave her alone until she feels at ease. They explain that as twins, they can't truly understand loneliness, but they've experienced its pain before. They reveal that White is not among the living, he is a ghost. This revelation surprises Akira, especially since she can feel him holding her hand. White confirms that he is indeed not alive, but Snow bound his soul, allowing him to maintain a physical form. They thank Akira for saving Faust, even though she's been alone and scared. Their kind words and actions make Akira feel more comfortable talking to them. She realizes they are gentle and caring, which puts her at ease. Encouraged by their support, Akira opens the book again and continues reading. Akira looks into the book and is astonished. She thinks to herself, this person seems unstable. She then speaks to Snow and White, asking about the nature of the previous sage who wrote the sage's volume. White responds, he was a highly competent young man with black hair and a love for conversation. He used to tell me he adored my name. Snow adds, he often complained, wishing his guild were as kind and pleasant as your name suggests. While reading, Akira finds something in the book regarding a way to return to her world. She reads about Prince Arthur helping the sage search for a method, noting that he was like a younger brother to her and quite charming. Curious, she asks Snow and White about Prince Arthur. Snow replies, we know him well. He's a kind boy who was deeply concerned about the previous sage. He's also the prince of the Central Kingdom. If you're fortunate enough to meet him, you could talk to him directly. Akira declares, I want to return to my world, and I will meet Prince Arthur. Snow responds, we'd be happy if you decided to stay with us, but it's natural for you to miss your family and friends. You should speak to Cain tomorrow. He can guide you further. White chimes in. Cain once served as a knight in the Central Kingdom under Arthur's leadership. You should ask him for help. Oh, and make sure to take this book with you. Snow agrees, saying this book is yours from now on. The scene transitions to Akira's room. She is sitting, reading through the book carefully. As she pieces together the information, she realizes there's a conflict between Oz and Arthur. She mutters to herself, it seems someone managed to travel between worlds before. Knowing this eases my mind a little. After that, Shylock speaks with Owen, saying, you're the only one who speaks with longing about the great calamity. You're the reason for all the misfortunes that have befallen us. You've destroyed your soul with your obsession, even if it means a disaster that might end the world. Perhaps your intense longing is why it's stronger than in previous years. Now it's closer than ever. If the moon dictated your fate, maybe the world could survive if you disappeared. If the other wizards knew this, they might call for your execution, and yet you're still infatuated with the moon. Owen retorts, you keep using that word over and over and over. He threatens Shylock not to say such things again. Shylock replies, I despise the stray cat version of you, but I miss your old self. You had innovative thoughts and were a master of ancient knowledge. The next morning, Cain searches for Akira but doesn't see her, even though she's right in front of him. Akira says, I can't use magic. Cain responds, I didn't see you because of this red eye. It's not mine, it once belonged to a corrupted wizard. He took my original eye and elected it with his. Akira, shocked, says, I think there are terrifying people in this world. Cain replies, I was careless. I planned to defeat him one day and reclaim my eye. It was painful for a long time because the eye wouldn't obey me. I tried to see things differently. That wizard, Owen, is the one who stole my eye. He's a mage from the northern lands. Be careful not to get too close to him. If your mind isn't strong, he'll drag you into the depths of darkness. But don't worry, I'll protect you if anything happens. Though I'm often scolded for not being formal enough, I have no interest in etiquette. You can consider me a friend as well. Let's go for a walk. Feel free to ask me for any favor you need. As they walk, Cain says, Snow and White told me you want to meet Prince Arthur. He might know a way to return you to your world, though I wish you could stay in ours. They step outside, and Akira notices the moon, astonished by how enormous it is. Cain explains, that's the great calamity. It attacks once a year, and we try to destroy it. That's what we fight against. Akira is shocked. You fight the moon? Cain replies, yes, it's our duty as sages to intercept the moon when it attacks and return it to the sky every year. That's how this world works. There are no happy endings like in stories. We must stay strong and keep moving forward. That's what I tell myself, but this year something was different. The moon was incredibly strong. We lost half of our group of 20 because of it. Let's head to Granville Castle in the royal capital. Prince Arthur is there. I've visited the castle many times, so I can take you. I'm sure His Highness will welcome you. However, the royal capital has suffered a great loss. I want you to wait until things calm down with the restoration efforts. Akira replies, let me know if there's any way I can help, even just by being here. Cain says, we need you to summon new sages. When we lose someone, only the sage can summon their successor. Can you do that? Akira is astonished but thinks, if it's something I can do, I'll do it. The scene shifts to a village where the people are terrified by another incoming storm. Everyone is fleeing, but a little girl is unable to escape. Suddenly, a young man rescues her. We soon learn that he is Prince Arthur. And so, today's episode of The Anime ends. Stay tuned for future episodes. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell to stay updated with all the latest content. The anime episode begins with Shino and an older man wandering through the forest in the dead of night. The older man is terrified, struggling to believe that the great catastrophe could be so close. He turns to Shino and asks, since he can fly, why not just fly them out of the forest? Shino mocks him, saying that as an old geezer, he doesn't deserve the honor of being carried on his broomstick. However, if he's that desperate, he'll need to pay an extra fee. Suddenly, they hear a sound from above. The old man panics, unsure if this marks the end of the world or if all the chosen sorcerers have been wiped out. Shino sharply tells him to be quiet, assuring him that the chosen sorcerers haven't been defeated. He knows one of them personally, and if anything had happened to the sorcerers, he would know immediately. Sorcerers, after all, don't break their promises because doing so would cost them their magical powers. However, Shino reveals that their master deceived them alongside an accomplice. Just then, Shino senses the presence of an ancient mist and urgently warns the old man to hold his breath and stay far away. This mist, if inhaled by an ordinary human, would put them into an eternal sleep. Shino looks up and spots a massive dragon flying through the sky. The scene transitions to the next morning where Kane and Akira are walking together. They head over to their friends, and Kane informs them that Akira has agreed to summon new sorcerers. Their friend Shylock inquires about Faust, asking how he's doing. Kane reassures him that Faust is fine. He then shares the good news with everyone that Akira's decision to summon new sorcerers will be a huge help. The group thanks Akira, who humbly admits she wasn't confident in her ability to pull it off, but she's happy to contribute even a little to their efforts. Snow and White are overjoyed and tell her they plan to start the summoning ritual after lunch before the great catastrophe begins. With excitement, Akira volunteers to make breakfast for everyone. This lifts Moore's spirits as she announces she'll prepare rice soup for them. Akira heads to the kitchen where Heath appears and offers to help. He assures her that despite his rough exterior, he's quite skilled with his hands. Akira gratefully accepts his help and tells him about the rice soup. Heath explains that this dish was once prepared by a wise elder and resembles rice porridge. The two get to work with Heath's magic to assist. Heath also decides to make coffee by hand, telling Akira that while he could use magic, coffee tastes better when brewed manually. However, he'll use magic to create sugar. He explains that crafting sugar is the first thing children learn in their magical training, and there's even a trick to shape the sugar into beautiful stars while controlling its sweetness. Finally, Heath asks Akira to hold out her hand, and he places a few star-shaped sugar cubes in her palm. Akira is delighted by Heath's display of magic, but Heath downplays it, saying it's nothing extraordinary, any sorcerer could do it. Curious, Akira asks how someone becomes a sorcerer. Heath explains that one cannot simply decide to become a sorcerer. Sorcerers appear suddenly among ordinary humans, and even the children of sorcerers aren't guaranteed to inherit magical abilities. It's more like a genetic mutation or a random occurrence. Akira nods in understanding, realizing that becoming a sorcerer isn't as simple as chanting spells. Heath elaborates, saying that spells are more like charms that amplify the magic within one's heart, which varies from sorcerer to sorcerer. He continues explaining that when a sorcerer chants their favorite words, those words become infused with magic, turning into powerful spells. Akira struggles to grasp his point, so Heath changes the subject and asks if she enjoys sunsets and the sound of rain. Akira excitedly replies that she loves them, while Heath admits no one has ever asked him such a question before, leaving him flustered. Heath then mentions that she might find his charms childish since some sorcerers use profound concepts like true love or the secrets of the universe as their incantations. Akira playfully responds that she would probably use her favorite songs or the names of cats she's met. Heath is surprised and amused to learn that she loves cats. He then shares that Master Faust is also fond of cats, though he tries to hide it. Heath once caught him playing with a cat. Heath recalls something Master Faust once said, that just as humans form connections with objects to use them, sorcerers can use magic by connecting their hearts to nature. The stronger their imagination, the more potent their spells, and the higher the chance of success. Akira finally understands, with a vivid imagination, anything is possible. Heath agrees, adding that a sorcerer's capabilities depend on the strength of their magic and their limitations. However, some feats like resurrecting the dead or traveling back in time are beyond anyone's reach. Akira challenges this, saying she saw Heath seemingly freeze the soldiers in time the previous night. Heath corrects her, explaining that it wasn't actual time stopping. He merely imagined time halting and froze their movements. He admits he wishes he could travel back in time to redo many decisions, as he has often been indecisive. Their conversation is interrupted when the rice soup is ready. Heath takes it to the group, and they all gather for breakfast. Everyone is thrilled by the delicious meal. During breakfast, Snow and White try to explain the impending great catastrophe to Akira, but Heath informs them he's already done so. They suggest Akira speak to Moore for more details since he has been researching the catastrophe. However, Shylock interjects, saying Moore is too preoccupied as he's close to uncovering the truth. This isn't normal, Shylock adds, but neither is replacing one's eye or keeping a ghost bound. Bradley calls the group a bunch of oddballs, but Shylock defends them, saying he has great affection for them despite their quirks. He notes they each have fascinating stories to tell, which is expected of sorcerers from the West and the Central Country. Akira is intrigued, as they frequently mention the West and the Central Country, but she doesn't know what they mean. Snow and White explain that there are 5 regions in this world: the Central, Northern, Western, Eastern, and Southern countries. A sorcerer's personality often reflects their homeland. They also mention that more details can be found in the Sage's Codex. Akira heads to the library to read the Sage's Codex. She learns that Central sorcerers have a strong sense of justice, deeply value their friends, and are willing to take on tasks others avoid. They are natural leaders. Eastern sorcerers, on the other hand, generally dislike humans, have closed-off hearts, and prefer solitude. They are serious but can be surprisingly endearing if one gets close to them. However, they hold lifelong grudges against those who anger them. As Akira continues reading, she finds that Western sorcerers are known for their unpredictable moods. It's hard to get close to Western sorcerers. They act however they like, love celebrations, and many of them are quite eccentric. Southern sorcerers, on the other hand, are kind and helpful. They are calm, their energy is healing, and they love assisting others. Though physically weaker, they always try to protect everyone. Returning to Akira, she's reading the book and murmurs to herself, I've never met a Southern sorcerer before. I'd really like to meet one someday. They seem so peaceful with such soothing energy. As she continues reading, Akira learns that Snow and White have lived exceptionally long lives. She also reads about Owen, who is described as extremely mysterious and difficult to talk to. He's the same person Kane had mentioned earlier. Akira finds him terrifying and hopes she never has to meet him. Then there's Oz, a sorcerer from the Northern Lands. He was notorious for once ruling the world with his magic. Although Oz seems frightening, he doesn't come across as inherently evil. Soon after, Shylock approaches Akira and asks what's caught her interest so deeply. Akira responds, I'm reading this book. I'm just so curious about this world and the sorcerers in it. Shylock smiles and shares, I work in the Western Lands. You know, saving the world doesn't exactly pay the bills, but I can still enjoy my time and live a life that feels worthwhile. Akira then asks him, can you show me some magic? Shylock chuckles and replies, that depends on the time, the situation, and the person. Right now, it's just the two of us. Showing off magic just to impress you, well, that would be a little mischievous, wouldn't it? But for you, I'll make an exception. With a playful grin, Shylock inches her drink. Here's some magic just for you, he says, before you officially convince me. The scene transitions to a gathering with everyone present. Akira speaks up, I want to tell you something. I can now do what I read about in the pages of the Sage's Codex. Kane responds, that's great. I hope it included something about the summoning ritual. We then learn that Akira had indeed read about how to summon sorcerers. Snow and White place a mana stone into a cup, and from it emerges a dark liquid. Akira drinks it, impressing everyone with her boldness. She begins to feel something strange, as if a force is lifting her, propelling her toward the heavens. In this surreal moment, Akira sees all the sorcerers and says, there are unfamiliar words coming from my mouth, like a cup filling with water. My words create a surge, an entire world of golden waves crashing around me. When she finishes, Akira asks, did it work? Shylock reassures her, you did an amazing job. I'm sure the mark will appear again on new sorcerers guided by the Sage's light. The mark shows up on different parts of each person, and those who bear it will come here from towers scattered across the world. If the Sage's sorcerers don't unite, the world will be doomed. The scene shifts again to another location where Mythil is speaking with his brother. Mythil says, Dr. Figaro will visit the academy after closing his clinic. He wants to talk to us about the mark that appeared on our bodies. His brother replies, there's no doubt it means we're chosen sorcerers. But this isn't going to be easy. Mythil, however, looks pleased. I'm just glad sorcerers from the other regions won't mock us anymore. I won't let them say the southern sorcerers are weak, slow, and easily led. His brother, more cautious, says you can't afford to be so easygoing or weak anymore. A sorcerer's strength comes from their heart. We have to do what we believe is right, as honestly as our hearts allow. Dr. Figaro arrives, greeting them with, I had to close the clinic this morning. It was pure chaos with so many injured people, but I managed to treat them. Now, I want to introduce you to another sorcerer who bears the mark. A young man enters the room. His name is Lennox. He shows them his mark, which is in the shape of a lily. Mythil remarks in awe, it's the same mark, but yours is shaped like a flower. Figaro then explains, all the southern sorcerers who went to fight the great catastrophe never returned home. Sadly, they were remarkable people. This saddens Mythil and his brother. Mythil hesitantly asks, is it possible that we'll go and never come back? Figaro reassures him, you're the son of the great sorceress Talita, and Lennox here is now a guardian. He's a true hero. Lennox speaks up, I was lost for a long time, not knowing what to do, but now. Figaro interrupts, you both need to prepare as much as possible before we leave. This current catastrophe is incredibly dangerous. We don't know when we'll return. Let's hope nothing terrible happens again. And with that, today's episode of the anime comes to an end. Stay tuned for the next episodes. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with all the latest content.